Hello everybody and welcome to the stream. Feels good to be back. As you can see, we're in X-Plane 12. It's been a long time since I've streamed. Hello everybody and welcome to the stream. Feels good to be back. As you can see, we're in X-Plane 12. It's been a long time since I've streamed. Everybody, welcome to the stream. Feels good to be back. As you can see, we're in X-Plane 12. A long time since I've streamed. I suppose we should get started and go on our way. As you can see, we are just sitting in the default Cessna 172 in X-Plane 12. We're just going to take it over for a spin and see where it takes us. We're not going to go anything too crazy today. This is just our, get back into things and see how things go stream. But yeah, I suppose we'll just jump right on into it. I really appreciate you checking out the video and being here for support. Yeah, I guess without further ado, we can just get right into it. And as the title suggests, I am a real-world avionics tech. I am flying the default Cessna 172 in X-Plane 12. I've started to take a liking to thinking about what to stream. I know a lot of people on the Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane side of things mostly decide to do the airliners side of things. And so since in the real world, I'm a real-world avionics tech on general aviation aircraft, I had some thought to it, and I thought, why not give it a shot to do the whole GA thing? Talk about the stuff that I do in the real world. I don't mind sharing what I do in the real world, some pictures I take, all of stuff that I do. The aircraft that I work on is, like I said, general aviation. So, like I said, that's just kind of inspired me to, let's get away from the whole tube liner and scene and just focus on general aviation here in this channel. And, since that's, like I said, what I work on and what I am knowledgeable and have experience working with in the real world. So yeah, I think it'll be fun. We'll try out some general aviation aircraft. Not saying we'll always stick with X-Plane 12, but maybe we'll jump in Microsoft and see what's over there too for general aviation. But yeah, for now, we'll like I said, we'll just jump in the 172 and see wherever it takes us for now. We won't go anything too crazy today. We do have Benny overlay working, so that's great for us. We're sitting on the ground here at Capital City Airport in Pennsylvania. So funny enough, this is my hometown airport that I actually work at, is Capital City Airport, is KCXY. It's not the biggest of airports. It's just a little history of the airport. It used to actually be the international airliners airport. Capital City did. And then over in Middletown across the river, over in Harrisburg, that used to be a military base only. So all the airliners and everything came to Capital City Airport. But then eventually, I forget what year it was, I'm going to guess sometime in the 19-something, the military base over in Harrisburg or Middletown they decided to make it the actual hub for the international side of things for the airliners. So now, in this present day, Middletown or Harrisburg International, which is located over in Middletown, Pennsylvania, right across the river from Capital City, is now the international airport where all the airliners go, and Capital City now is now just for general aviation aircraft. So it's just a little bit of history about the two airports. We are going to actually fly from Capital City over to Harrisburg International. That's just going to be our first little leg. As you can see, it's what, 4 and 5 nautical miles, so we're not going to go anything too crazy here. But yeah, this is, I've worked as the real world avionics tech for about 6 to 7 years now. I've worked on countless numbers of aircraft, from general aviation. I've worked on small Cessna 172s, 150s, Cessna 210s, Cessna 335s. I've worked on Piper Arrows, Piper Dakotas. The biggest current one now that I seem to be working on a lot is Piper Aerostars. They're a twin engine, can be pressurized aircraft from Piper. You can see about 6. I've done countless of those. I'll have to show you pictures of what I've done in those. I've put full glass cockpits in those. I've worked on some Cessna Citations a couple times too. I've worked on King Airs, stuff like that. But enough about me rambling on about what I do and stuff and the history of airports. Let's jump into the 172 here and get her fired up. Alright, so we're sitting in the cockpit here in the pilot seat of the Cessna 172 Skyhawk. Hide the yoke for a little bit. Alright, we'll get the battery switch on and the alternator switch on. Everything's come to life. We will get the nav lights and the rotating beacon light on. I guess we can get the fuel pump on. We'll put our mixture in. Can crack the throttle. And we will go ahead and start the engine. Crank the engine over on the magneto switch. Left, right, left, both, and then start. So now we've got the aircraft started. Get the avionics on. Bus 1 and 2. The aircraft spool up for a little bit and charge the battery for a little bit. Bring the yoke back. So most of the time, if you, going back to what I do, with these newer Cessna 172s, I actually don't mind working on the newer 172s, the early 2000s and onwards. They're actually really nice from the factory, as long as it's not too crazy behind the panel with people adding stuff from just years and years of splices and adding and removing radios and whatnot. But I removed the 6-pack here, the airspeed, the vacuum-driven DG, and the artificial horizon. So a whole vacuum system comes out of the aircraft, which frees up so much space behind the panel. It's just unreal. I do remove the altimeter, the VSI, and the turn coordinator. Sometimes, I don't always remove all of these. It depends. Like if we need a standby ADI, we'll keep the vacuum-driven one in. If we need a standby that's not electric, like an electronic indicator. But most of the time, like we do remove the DG, which is driven by the vacuum system. Same with the altimeter, the VSI, like those are part of the static system. So it just really depends if the customer wants to keep those or not. Same thing with the turn coordinator. Most of the time it's just driven by power and ground. The only other connection that the turn coordinator would have is connection to the autopilot. But most of the time it's just power and ground, so that's the customer's choice. Same thing with the airspeed, but this has pitot and static pressure hooked to it. So again, it just depends on the setup, what the customer wants to keep, what instruments they're getting, stuff like that. Most of the time I do remove the ADF. That usually is gone. I just plug it with a patch on the hole. The KI-209 and 209A, you can see one has glide slope and one does not have glide slope. It really depends, what I hook these to, and do we keep the 430, the 530? These are GNS 430, GNS 530. Most of the time they're WAS units, so they have GPS. So it just depends. So if I'm removing the 430, the 530 that would be in here, sometimes I may or may not get a new audio panel in there that I have to rewire a brand new audio panel in. It just really depends. Same thing with the transponder. I know with the transponders nowadays you have to have ADSB out, at least you have to have the ADSB out, and I've done a lot of those when I first started in the aviation industry installing avionics. Was the whole ADSB out, so transponder installs were out crazy. Autopilots, it really depends. Some of them have the KAP 140s in the Cessnas. They definitely like having the Bendix King stuff with the KAP 140s. Most of the time, when these come in, I do remove the autopilot and put a new one in. Most of the time, it's a Garmin G500 autopilot, which has pitch and roll and trim. I believe the GFC 500 can do yaw as well. But most of the time we just do pitch, trim, and roll. Most of the time when we do the GFC 500 autopilots in most of these general aviation aircraft that I do. But yeah, I mean, I redo the whole circuit breaker panel down here. I redo this whole, I take this out and redo this circuit breaker panel. Most of the time I remove the avionics fan, redo the autopilot, the GPS, depending if we put a GTN 650, 750, whatever type of GPS in there from Garmin. We're a Garmin dealer, so most of the time we put in Garmin stuff. Navcom 1, Navcom 2. Most of the time I told you I remove the ADF, replace the transponder, and most of the time we do get rid of the DMD as well. And we may add holes here to put different things on as well for the avionics bus. Down here with these, most of the time we leave these alone, these circuit breakers. You know, depending if we take out or reuse the turn coordinator, we'll leave that in or take it out. You know, down here there might be some more holes that we put in the panel to install more circuit breakers, especially on this being the main bus for power, or the master bus. We call it the main bus, and then this is the avionics bus. But yeah, it just really depends on, you know, what we're doing. So yeah, that's just kind of generally, you know, what I do. And then, you know, with these instruments here, most of the time I leave these in, unless it's getting a GEA, which is a Garmin engine analyzer. Even then, I still might leave these in. The only thing I might do is I will write a sticker that says the vacuum system is in-op. Since I have removed, most of the time I told you I removed the vacuum system, which is the artificial horizon and the DG. I remove those, and the whole vacuum system comes out. So yeah. Alright, I guess let's look over here on our avionics. I guess for now, we can get our 530, I guess, headed to the Middletown Airport, Harrisburg International. See if I can remember how to work the 530. Because like I said, most of it's, I do install 530s and 430s sometimes, but it's becoming less and less often, and most people are actually upgrading from the 430 and 530 up to the GTN 650, 750 series. Sometimes even the X5s, which is the new, faster processors inside the GTN series, the X5s. But it's still a 650, 750 at heart. So since I mostly know how to work those, it's been a little bit since I've worked on and played around with a little bit of a 430, 530 here. Center course to 121. the Squawk 1200 here. On our transponder. This looks like a GTX 330 is what that looks like. Most of the time I told you I replaced those with a newer ADSB out transponder from Garmin. GTX 345, 335. 345 can do ADSB in and out, so it can show you the traffic. And 335 is just ADSB out. And let me grab the Addons here, quick. $29.79 on the altimeter. So we got that set on the altimeter. All right. I guess for now we can go flying, friends. Check our controls. Full left, full right, full back, forward, and then our rudder pedals, our yaw on the rudder. You can see our ailerons move out there. I guess we can go ahead and release the park brake. Add a little bit of throttle here, just a little bit. Out here, make a right. I'll tell you what though, X-Plane is definitely from X-Plane 11. This is all default X-Plane 12. I am running no mods other than better pushback. So this is all default X-Plane 12. And coming from X-Plane 11 and Microsoft Flight Sim for a while, this is looking pretty gosh darn good. So I definitely can't complain. Winds are, the winds are just here. So right now, so we're just gonna go over to runway 26 here, I believe, and use that for departure because we just have crosswinds right now. Maybe we'll take runway A. We'll see. taxi too fast. So recently, so funny enough, recently I have actually taken a real flight lesson, my very first one ever. And I flew the Diamond DA-20, and now we only stayed about 4,000 feet, but just for a real-world flying experience for the first time, that was really, really fun. So it was nice to have hands-on experience with a real aircraft to get, you know, the feel of what it's like to, you know, take off, to land, you know, to maneuver the aircraft in the air and get a feel for what it's really like. You know, I've spent all this time, you know, installing avionics, and, you know, I've gone on test flights to, you know, to see how the avionics work and the autopilot to see and make sure that everything's working okay. But I really, you know, I've had a passion for flying ever since I was little, and so I finally got the courage to, you know, go take a real flying lesson in the real world, and it was well worth it. You know, I flew out of here, obviously, at my hometown airport at Capital City, and it was a great experience. Getting the real feel for the aircraft. You know, again, I told you I flew the Diamond DA-20, and I have worked on those. But yeah, I mean, it was a great time. If anyone is looking and wants to get real-world experience, I definitely recommend getting it's called a discovery flight, is what I did. A discovery flight for. It's relatively cheap depending on where you are. But yeah, I definitely recommend for anyone who's interested to go take a discovery flight. You'll have a joy of a time. You really, really will. I'll talk about that more later. All right, we'll go ahead and set our parking brake here. We're sitting in the run-up area here. We'll go ahead and do a mag check. So we'll run the throttle up here a little bit, watch our RPMs. About 1200 RPM. Go ahead and do a mag switch, mag check. So over to the left, see it there, over to both. See it come back up to about 1200. Then we'll go over and do the right mag. Over to both. So that was our mag check, so everything looks good there. We will get our taxi and our landing lights on, and our pitot heat as well, and our strobe lights. This is we're pretty much going to get ready for takeoff here. We are flying offline for now. So we have all of our lights on. Get our yokes back. Look at our beautiful bird here. Hop back inside. Alright. So we did our mag check. Everything looks good. Release our park brake. And then we'll I want to check the charts here and see what the weather's doing and what. So it looks like we may actually take runway 8 for departure. Because of the way that the winds are blowing, they're coming from direction of 120 degrees at 11 knots is what the METAR is saying. So we'll go down to runway 8 and take off. It's at a crosswind, but we'll take off from runway 8 just because of the winds blowing from 120 degrees at 11 knots. So runway 8 makes most sense for now, even though it's a crosswind. Well, hey, we get a longer taxi and we get a little view of the airport, I guess, right? Man, X-Plane 12 is definitely looking pretty good. Like I said, I've flown a lot in Microsoft Flight Sim lately with my tube liners, and I've been, so used to that eye candy, as I'm sure much of us have. But X-Plane 12 is definitely up there too. Like, I have to give it props. I was very, very, very invested in X-Plane 11 with Active Sky and all of those mods for the weather and stuff. X Enviro, I had all of that stuff for X-Plane 11, and it definitely took a lot to make X-Plane 11 look good, and it did look good at the time, and we didn't have Microsoft's Flight Sim 2020 or 2024 back then, so that was the best that we had. But now that we have all of these sims available to us, it's great to have a choice for anybody that wants a different experience or anything. It's great that we have choices available to us. Is probably the best thing that we have as a consumer right now for Flight Sim. But man, just X-Plane 12 stock right now is looking phenomenal. Myself a set of rudder pedals so I can break out the honeycomb yoke. I haven't used that in a hot minute. It's been a little bit since I've used that. I'd love to use that yoke again, especially for GA flying. I'm going to start doing. I think the honeycomb yoke would be awesome. I just need to get myself a set of. I used to have the whole Thrustmaster. Was it the T16000M setup? But I sold it, and I am kicking myself for getting rid of it. So now I just use the Logitech joystick that I have. Alright, we'll get ourselves lined up here on runway 8. That's runway 12. I don't normally go over onto this side for departure, so I apologize, you know, for being screwed up over here. I usually depart from the main runway. Alright, and then since we're offline, we'll just go up here and now we should be on runway 8. Yep, there we go, runway 8. Alright. So we'll just confirm all of our lights are on. Beacon, landing, taxi, nav, strobe, and all of our lights are on. The pitot heat's on. We'll keep the fuel pump on. We did our mag check up at the run-up area. Mixture's in, throttle. We already checked our flight controls, so everything's free and clear. All right. Give us some throttle here and take off, friends. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, we'll set a notch of flaps. Alright, now we're ready for takeoff. Apologies, my bad. Bad pilot for a pre-flight. Get her up in the green here. And we're looking for about 65-ish knots. Alright, and now we're flying, friends, positive rate. Down and gain some speed. On climbing here for about in between 500 and 1,000 feet per minute, as you can see on the VSI. So as you notice, you know, the more you keep your nose down, we'll gain some airspeed. Or if you know, pitch the nose up, we'll gain some altitude, we'll lose airspeed. Bring the flaps up. As you can see, we'll gain some more speed because of the flaps coming up. now, like I said, we can just fly around and see how things are. Nothing too crazy here. Up on 100 knots. Need some altitude here. It's at 2,000 feet. That's the one good thing about X-Plane is, the physics in this it's amazing. They've always done a great job at that. Harrisburg International there right off our nose. If I pitch the nose down over a little bit, you'll see the runway. Right there in front of us is Harrisburg International, where we'll eventually land. I'm definitely looking forward to taking my next flight lesson. That would be a lot of fun. The discovery flight that I took definitely got me hooked. As being as passionate in aviation as I am, I definitely want to make something out of it. But yeah, like I said, I can recommend anybody that's interested and just needs to take that extra step or jump. Go do it. You will love a discovery flight. It's phenomenal. You'll have a great time. You've always had that bug and itch in aviation. You'll have a great time. Even if you don't like the discovery flight afterwards, that's okay too. But I think you'll have a good time. It definitely got me hooked, especially being an av geek and an aviation enthusiast. We're starting to come up on 3,000 feet, a little bit past. Might stay around 3,000 feet for now. Staying around 100-ish knots, so that's pretty good. More so just trying to do some hand flying here just to get used to the aircraft. In my discovery flight, I flew the Diamond DA-20, so it definitely wasn't a Cessna 172. But yeah. The Susquehanna River down there. right there, I know it's not the best, but drawing it in, but that's the Harrisburg City. A lot of country land and trees out there, as you can see. I think I might try to throw on this autopilot. See if I can get it working here. It's trying to take us over to Harrisburg International, but I just want to fly around. Yeah, there's our departing airport, capital city, right there. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's the Susquehanna River right here. Bouncing around doing its thing with the reacting to the weather. That's pretty cool. That sun glare. As you can see, the two airports are very, very close together, Capital City and Harrisburg International. They're literally directly right across the Susquehanna River from each other. It's really cool. Gotta get our airspeed down since we're trying to descend. Don't want to overspeed the aircraft. I remember I was definitely nervous my first time taking my discovery flight and flying the aircraft for real. It was definitely a lot different than a simulator. I will tell you that. I have had many hours in flight simulators from FSX, FS 2004, Microsoft Flight Sim, X-Plane 10, X-Plane 11, and now X-Plane 12. You know, so it's definitely very different flying in the real world compared to a simulator. As much as these sims do a great job, it's nothing like flying in the real world. Alright, so there we'll get lined up for approach here. Start slowing up a little bit here so we can drop our flaps. Remember on our airspeed indicator, the white arc is for flaps. Get a notch of flaps out here. Of flaps. Excuse me. I get lined up here. You'll see our energy on the indicator to get the needle lined up. On our VAP speed, I have to go look at the pilot operating handbook, the POH, and see what the aircraft says for a via app speed. I'm not sure. Get our last notch of flaps out. I can say we can probably aim for about 60-ish knots to land. So that's what we'll aim for, is around 60-ish knots. We're coming in pretty slow, so we're doing all right. Marker. Just gotta set her down nice and easy. Ooh. Exit left here. And we'll clean up our flaps. And I believe GA normally parks over here to the left. Look at that scene right there. Wow, beautiful. I'll tell you what, X-Plane 12. Phew. That's amazing. Alright, I guess we'll go over here in the FBO. Scene right there. Bring her to a stop and we'll go ahead and get our park brake. Go ahead and shut off all of our lights. Strobe light, landing light, taxi light can come off. I guess since we're shutting down, we'll shut everything down. So our pitot heat can come off, our nav lights, beacon, and our fuel pump can come off. And we'll pull the mixture to stop the engine. Clean it out. And then we'll turn the mags off. Turn our avionics off, and then we'll kill the master switch. Awesome, guys. That was beautiful. Awesome, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed. We'll definitely have to do more streams like this for sure. Flying GA. Like I said, I think I'm gonna just getting back in the hang of things. Haven't flown or streamed for a very long time. Just getting back into it. But yeah, I think I'm going to follow my passion of, since I work on GA, it makes sense to stream GA aircraft and fly all of that and, showcase and talk about what I do and all the avionics that I install and all that stuff. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave any criticism or anything that you guys would like to see on the channel. I don't do just flight sim. I do have a PlayStation and an Xbox. I play Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft, Fallout 76, Battlefield, all the title games that are popular right now. I have them all, so if you guys want to see stuff like that, content like that, if you guys need help with anything from any games, please let me know. me and 2 or 3 of my very close friends, best buds, we are really, really highly experienced in games and stuff. So if you guys need help, don't feel free to reach out. You know, I'll put the ending screen up. It'll have our Discord and stuff like that in it. So make sure to leave a like. If you want to subscribe, great. You know, share the content with your friends. Definitely check back in the channel. We'll be doing this a lot more. I definitely have to create a schedule. That way you guys know when to catch me. And it's not just random, you know, streams and whatnot. Yeah. Leave a like, you know, comment, share, subscribe, leave criticism. Come join our Discord. You know, if you want to leave any criticism or any reviews or anything. But yeah, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed. It was great. I always love doing this kind of stuff. Sharing my passion of aviation and video games in general. I'll have to show you guys my pictures for what I do in the real world on general aviation aircraft. It's fascinating, all the pictures I have of working in the different types of aircraft and the wiring I do and stuff I've taken out, the stuff I've seen. It's amazing. People are like, how do you take something like that and make it so nice? It's art. That's what I call it. I always call it art. So yeah, I'll definitely catch you guys later. I'll definitely keep you guys up to date with all of the content and stuff like that. Again, you know, check back for regular content. Hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, I guess we'll catch you guys later. See ya!